Hey everyone, StealthyShiroean here, and today I'm bringing you my review of Elderborn. Elderborn is a first-person Souls-like action RPG. Hyperstrange developed and published the game, releasing it at the end of January in 2020. It specializes exclusively on visceral melee combat with an assortment of weapons to use for hacking and slashing. I previously covered this game briefly in July's Humble Choice bundle, but decided to go back and give this one a full playthrough. I liked what the game had to offer for the most part, but also felt like there could have been a bit more. On the graphics and presentation side of things, I thought it was decent. They do a good job to convey the feeling of a forsaken and forgotten place. Each area had a dark and almost creepy atmosphere to it, and not just because there were undead walking around. The city and ultimately the entire setting seemed inspired from ancient Mesopotamia or Egypt. I think within the city there could have been more distinction between the different areas, but it doesn't really detract from the enjoyment. For such a short game, I was really surprised at the number of different enemies that were in the game. Many of them were unique enough from the next, and all had their own animations. It really helped the game feel varied compared to something that might just recolor their enemies over and over, but just change the stats. The few cutscenes that were here are really well drawn. They had a very grim style to them as well that seemed to be in the vein of Conan the Barbarian. This isn't much of a surprise given that their Steam page states, "It's an unapologetic tribute to Robert E. Howard's work," of which I actually need to get around to reading sometime. One of the game's main features was the accompanying metal soundtrack. As I said in the Humble Choice review, I'm not as big of a fan of metal these days compared to when I was younger, but this soundtrack was great. It had a good mix that paired an ancient, desert-themed sound with cool headbanger tracks. In many instances, the music exemplified the gameplay, and is especially great when you're in the rhythm slicing your way through anything dumb enough to get in your way. Moving on to the story, there is one here, but it's fairly forgettable. The player's character is a chosen champion sent on a holy mission to infiltrate the dead city of Yermun, and learn the secret of eternal youth. Through aforementioned cutscenes and collectible codex pages, the player learns more about the city and its history. I wish there was either more cutscenes, or better yet, more storytelling done through the gameplay. Largely, it's hands-off through the reading of the codex pages, which is kind of a shame. There's an interesting setting here, and it would have been cool if it was utilized a bit more. The story ends a bit weird, with a turn of events that I didn't see coming, but maybe fans of Robert E. Howard would have. Although, I did feel the game ended abruptly. Honestly, it felt like up until that point you were playing through a prologue and it was just about to start, but then it just ends. It definitely seems like the devs wanted to keep things open for a potential sequel, but it doesn't look like that's in the works at the moment. So how's the gameplay though, I may hear some of you asking? Well, it's pretty dang good. The combat is fun and can keep you on your toes in some of the more crazier fights. Although, I will say that this game is a bit too easy. Back when I played this for the Humble Choice review, I said the same thing, but at the time, I was playing it on normal difficulty. This time around, I decided to try it on Elderborn, which is the second hardest difficulty, and since it's the title, I assumed that perhaps this was the intended difficulty level for the game. If so, then I guess I'm not blown away. And as always, I want to reiterate that I'm not a good player of these kinds of games. Or any games really, but Souls-like especially. Most of the fights with normal mobs I didn't die at all, although there were a decent amount of close calls. Actually, I didn't die once until the fight with the first boss. Even the bosses themselves, the two that exist anyway, are fairly easy. The second one did give me a bit of trouble, and I did cheese it a little by running around to let my health recharge. Although they didn't take me a soul-crushing amount of times to beat, like it might be in another title within the genre. This perceived easiness comes from the game's health restoration system that is in the form of rechargeable health vials. Basically, they are the Estus Flasks of Elderborn, but as you kill enemies, they recharge rather than being used up until the next bonfire. or fountain in the case of this game. Furthermore, if an enemy hurts you, then you have the ability to recuperate some of the lost health if you follow up with your own attacks. I like that system even if I didn't always use it, especially since I felt the files recharged rather quickly. Although, another thing that may have affected my first run was my allocation of skill points. As you level up, you can place points into one of 3 categories, being Might, Speed, and Resilience, each with 3 abilities to unlock. Since I was playing on a higher difficulty, I figured I would place all my skill points I accrued in the start of the game to my Resilience stat so I could increase my survivability. This unlocked the ability for my health to recharge when it got below half, so it made certain fights a bit easier, like the boss battle I mentioned. There are more exciting abilities like being able to dash midair or an area of effect ground stomp, but I wasn't able to unlock them in my playthrough. However, with New Game Plus, the progress carries over, and the player can start unlocking the rest of the skill tree to have full mastery. The combat here is very fun and fast-paced. A lot of skills depend on being able to parry or block at the right times. A dash helps you move out of the way, or to speed from one opponent to the next. Also, choosing the right weapon for the job is very important depending on the enemy the player is facing. And there's a good selection of weapons to play with, all feeling distinct to some extent. My favorites were probably the ones that allowed parrying because that slow-mo felt so satisfying. Although, smacking enemies around with a big two-handed weapon was pretty fun as well. The devs really managed to pull off a great first-person melee combat game here, and I think it should be a bar to strive for in other games attempting to pull off a similar feature. And that brings us to talking about the game's value. It's normally priced at $14.99 and I put in about 6.5 hours for my playthrough. It's a well-made game for that asking price, and I had a lot of fun playing it. I think for someone who likes Souls-like games, then they probably will find enjoyment here, but if they're here for the difficulty, then I'm not sure if they'll find it. Maybe in a New Game Plus, but not in their first run. As far as replayability goes, I can see going through the game again with everything at your disposal. Personally, I didn't think I would myself, but I just started my second run-through, and it's been fun so far, especially now that I have an understanding of the weapons and enemies. Trying to find all the collectibles and finishing the challenges will, of course, add to your playtime, bringing out a few more hours. Originally, I was going to say pick this up on sale, although you still can, as I'm sure it goes on sale at least 50% off probably every major sale. But honestly, I think this game is a ton of fun and definitely meets their asking price. Overall, Elderborn is a really well done first-person Souls-like. I really hope that Hyperstrange decides to make a sequel in the future to be able to expand on the combat, as well as flesh out their story a bit more. It was a bit too short for my liking, and I think that could be a detriment to the game, but I think most people will find that the combat mechanics more than make up for the rest. What do you think of Elderborn? And what was your favorite weapon if you played it? Let me know in the comments below. I hope this helped you in some small way, and if it did, then please leave a like, comment, subscribe, or whatever it is you feel like doing. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.